Hello, good morning, brothers and sisters. Let us start with the opening for today's session. Good day, Shifu, Brother Joe Huang, Hualien Dharma team, and brothers and sisters around the globe. Before we hear review of Wondrous Lotus Sutra, let us pay our respects for these teachings and explanations to the Buddha and Master Cheng by making 3 sincere bows. Please rise, palms together. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. And a bow to our beloved Shifu who could join us today. Okay, over to you, Brother Joe.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. This is Joe. Hoping everybody had a wonderful, wonderful week. So I know a lot of you, there are about 50, more than 50 of you, of us actually have came back to the abode this past week for 5 days. And I'm sure there were a lot of experiences, a lot of thoughts that you would like to share. So today we will reserve more time for all of you to have the opportunity to share. And I just want to say that it was wonderful to see all of you, and it was wonderful to have you here back at home in Hualien. So it's always good when family members meet, and especially for those of us that have never met in person before. But it strengthens our resolve, and it strengthens our strength together to continue to be on this path, which is something that we need to continue to be on. And it's a very long journey, and we need each other to continue this path. So today I'm very happy to continue this Lotus review on the 28th of April, and let us now go through today's. Well, first of all, let's go through what we talked about last week. As you all know, that we're approaching the end of chapter 17, the distinct merit and virtues. And so last week we talked about the various merits, and we talked about what we have covered so far. We talked about what this chapter has been talking about so far. And there are the various merits and ways that we talked about, and the physical and spiritual locations. Now, for those of you that weren't here, that were on the flight last week, let me do a brief review of what we talked about. So at the beginning of this chapter, we talked about there were many, many different levels. If you go back to the sutra content, the sutra verses, you will know that there are many, many different levels of accomplishments. And the reason for the different levels of accomplishment is because there are differences in practices and diligence. The idea is that we all have the Buddha nature. That nature, the Buddha nature in us is the same. Your Buddha nature, my Buddha nature, and the Buddha's Buddha nature is all the same. However, the only difference is how diligent you are, how diligent we all are in our practices. How much we understand depends on how much we practice. And how much we practice depends on how much we understand. So if the reason why that there are so many different accomplishments, some people accomplish this, some people accomplish that. If you read the beginning of this chapter, you will know that there are many, 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 many levels of cultivation, of spiritual cultivation. And the reason why that there are differences is not because you're smarter than I am or you're more wiser than I am. It's just because different levels are basically the result of different diligence and practices. And the more you do, the more you absorb the Dharma, the more that you practice, and the more you contemplate, you think, and it becomes your wisdom, the wiser you become. And the wiser you are, the higher, in terms of spiritual cultivation, that you become. So that's the difference. And the sutra and the master went on to tell us what we can do. What does it mean by more practice? What does it mean by more diligence? Well, there are the 4 additional efforts that we can always do. Never think of ourselves as understanding all already, but rather there are always more that we can do. There is always more that we can put in the effort, and that's called the 4 additional efforts. And furthermore, it's not just the things that we do, but it's also the people that we interact. So there are the 4 ways of attraction, namely that we would like to do good to others. We would like to benefit others. We would like to say kind words to others, and we will work together with them, cooperate. These are the ways of attraction that will allow us to foster good relations with others, to help us move along in terms of the spiritual cultivation and diligence and practice. And of course, there are the 4 encompassing vows. The previous 2 talks about different ways that we can make things better. Additional efforts to make things better. 4 ways of attraction to make dealing with people easier. However, in order to keep on going, you need to make the 4 encompassing vows. That vows are so great that covers long time, long duration. So in this chapter, Master talks about how we can resolve the different problems by putting in more effort and by dealing with people. Furthermore, she talked about how to keep it going for a long time. And of course, all of these things put together, and it's all part of the same practice, which is called the 6 paramitas, or the six diligent efforts that will allow us to continue. And that's what we talked about last week. Furthermore, not only is it that the 4 additional efforts, the encompassing vows, the 4 ways of attraction, and 6 paramitas, we need, most importantly, is the deep faith. Without the faith to believe that that's the way we need to go, you will not even begin the first step. The faith allows us to move the first step, to take the first step. The faith allows us that when the challenges are right in front of us, that we are willing to overcome the challenges instead of turning back and turning around. So the faith is something that will sustain us, keeping us there in the long haul, continue, and believing that we need to use these different methods to get over our problems. So we also talk about the true place of cultivation. In the chapter, Buddha talked about many, many different physical locations. These physical locations are places where it's the stupa or the treasure tower. These are very physical, real locations. But the Buddha continued to say that the true place of cultivation, the true place of enlightenment, isn't the same place as in underneath the Bodhi tree where the Buddha was enlightened. That's not the true place of cultivation. The true place of cultivation is the same idea as there isn't a true stupa or true treasure tower. But rather than that, not a physical form, but rather than that, it's any place that carries out the true practices of the Dharma, the true practices of Buddha's teaching. That will be the true place of cultivation. That will be the true place of treasure tower. That's what the whole thing is. So don't be guiled by saying that if I do these offerings, then I would get merit. If I build these things, I will earn merit. Rather than that, it's how do I get merit? How do I earn? How do I do good? It's not about the things that I do. It's not the physical thing, but it's also the true intention, the true place. So it's not the treasure tower itself, but the treasure tower from within. So that's what the true place of cultivation that we talked about. So don't be sucked into the words that describe the physicalness of these things, but rather to look beyond, to see beyond the words, but see the meaning, and see beyond the meaning, see its intention, see beyond the intention, and go through the Buddha nature. That's what's important. So today, we're going to talk about, as Master this morning in Xun Fa Xiang also continue to talk about, that this chapter is winding down. We are approaching the 52nd anniversary, and we're going to begin in the mornings to chant, to recite the Lotus Sutra. So very quickly, in a few days, we'll begin doing that, and that means there will be no Xun Fa Xiang. There will be no Dharma talk in the morning. So we can see that and feel that this chapter is winding down. So I would like to continue to go back into what this chapter, the name, the content, how it all ties together. And so today we're going to be talking about the merit and virtue, which is something that in the past few days, Master has been talking about. And it's also actually very much in the name of the chapter. And also, I would like to get the idea of transcend, to go beyond. What does it mean about transcend and go beyond in this chapter? So first, we talk about merit and virtue. They're two different words, two different ideas, both appearing here. And what do they mean? So Master talked about merit. It's something that you have to earn. You have to learn. You earn it. You will learn it. Not only that, you get to keep it if you learn it enough. If you learn enough, if you earn enough of it, you get to keep it. But you need to keep on practicing it until you can keep it. And the more you keep, the more you accumulate. And what does that mean? It means that Master says the merit, the true merit lies in benefiting others. How do you do this? You earn the merit by benefiting others. You learn more merit by benefiting others. You keep the merit by benefiting others. You continue to practice this merit by continue to benefit others. And that's how you accumulate all these merits. And Master, on the other day, I think it was yesterday, to talk even further in depth about what this means. She said, to pass on this Dharma, to continue the Dharma, though benefiting others, ultimately benefit self the most. If you are working hard at it, if you diligently work at it, the only way that you can continue to pass on the Dharma is for you to understand the Dharma first. Therefore, you get to be benefited first before all the other people are benefited. So as you are plowing through the Dharma and try so hard to practice and understand it, in order to pass this Dharma to other people, you must be benefited first, because you need to learn first before you can give it to other people. And then she went on to say, how did she benefit herself in terms of trying to benefit others and in turn benefit herself? She said, if it's not for continuing the Dharma, if it's not for the benefit of other people to understand the Dharma, she would not have spent so much time doing what? Doing understanding, seeking, searching. What are the issues and problems plaguing people today? What are the problems and issues that people are confronting with today? Other than that, understanding what the Buddha had taught us, what the Dharma was. So understanding the problems and understanding the solution and understanding how to put the two together, so then the solution is indeed what the problem needs. So that the solution is something that we can all use. So the solution is something that we can all understand and apply right away. So it's not something like giving you something that you cannot use right now, that you can only use 20 years from now. No. Master is trying to understand, through trying to help us to get through our problems, she has to figure out what the Buddha had taught. Out of all these medicine in the medicine cabinet, she needs to understand what each one of these medicine does. And then she has to understand what our symptoms and syndromes are. And then she had to understand how to best use the combination of these medicine in the medicine cabinet to help us relieve our problems. And through all of that, the ultimate goal was to benefit us because we are ill and we are sick. But in the middle of that, she understood that all these medicine are here. What can they do and how do they work? The problems that's faced by all the different kinds of people, and therefore all the different kinds of problems. Then how can I use the medicine to treat all these problems? Through helping others to get through our illness, she had understand, oh, so this is how the medicine is going to cure the problem. So, and that's what we talked about. This is part of the merit. The merit itself isn't about building how many stupas or constructing the dormitories or living spaces or whatnot for the Sangha, or making the very, very offerings to the Dharma, to the Buddha, to the Sangha. it's not just all of that, but rather you are going deeper. You're going to try to, in order to continue the Dharma, I have to understand, I have to learn, I have to carry out, I have to practice. And all of these actions that are done in order to benefit the people, in order to continue the Dharma, in itself is already the best merit. And that's what the merit is about. Work hard at it, earn it, learn it, keep it, practice it, and eventually you accumulate. You learn the Dharma. You earn it by earning the experience. You learn and you practice it. You keep on doing it, and you accumulate what the Dharma had taught you. That is how you accumulate your merit. And the ultimate goal, the goal isn't for us to learn the Dharma only. The goal is actually to help others, to use the Dharma to help others, to use the Dharma so that it can be passed on to more generations and generations to come. That's the ultimate goal. But in the process, we ourselves benefit. We ourselves accumulate this merit. So that was the merit part. In order to benefit others, in the process, I learned so much. In the process, I become better than the previous myself, the previous self, and ultimately helping others, ultimately passing on the Dharma. That's the merit. On the other hand, there is the virtue. Virtue is through the process. It's the process itself. Are you selfless? These are the things that are formless, empty. You don't see this. It's not something like you will learn. You will learn something from the books. You will learn from the sutra. You will learn from a teacher telling you all these things. The virtue itself is from within. Are you doing this in a selfless way? Can you continue in a tireless effort? Are you fearless? Are you going to stop? Do you maintain this faith? And are you still respectful to all things around you? That's how we accumulate virtue. Through all these things, we don't become too arrogant because we have learned so much Dharma. Because in the process, we benefit ourselves by becoming so infused with Dharma that we become so big and arrogant about ourselves. I know all of this now, and you all have not understood yet. No, the virtue comes in while you're gaining and keeping and learning and accumulating the merit. You remain selfless. You remain tireless. You continue your efforts nonstop. You are fearless. You are not afraid to try, to learn. And all of this, in the process, you remain the same. You don't let all these accomplishments change who you are and change why you do things. We are learning the Dharma. The goal didn't change. It's to help the people that are suffering. It's to help passing on the Dharma. That never changes. You don't stop even if you hit a problem, even if you hit a challenge, even if you hit something that you cannot overcome. You don't stop. You remain faithful and you remain respectful of all the things around you. That's how we accumulate virtue. So while we are accumulating merit, we become better. But at the same time we become better, we do not let becoming better affect who we are and why we do this. So we remain selfless, remain tireless, remain fearless. We don't change just because we learn so much Dharma now that I become so arrogant, or I stop learning because I think I have understood all the Dharma, or I become fearful because I'm afraid that I'm going to lose this Dharma, that I'm attached to the Dharma. No, selfless, tireless, fearless. We don't stop. We don't stop. Sometimes we think that we have understood all of it. Sometimes we thought that that's the most that I can ever learn. But don't stop, because there's always faith. The faith in the Dharma is all around us. And it's so much that we cannot possibly verbalize it. You can only try to understand it, try to feel it, and always be respectful of all the things around us. You and I are the same. You and I are the same. It's just because of various practices, various time, and all the different conditions that we have different understanding of the Dharma. but we have the same basic. It's not that you are wiser than me, I am smarter than you. No, we are all the same, and it's only because the different accumulation. Sometimes you accumulate so much, and then you become, oh, I'm going to stop right here. So someone else overtakes you. Sometimes you go so much, and you go, wow, I've learned so much already. I have come to learn and understood everything, and I become so arrogant. Then your virtue becomes to decline, and your merit becomes to decline as well. So that's what merit and virtue are. And it goes into the next topic, which is called transcending. Transcend beyond. Beyond what we see, beyond what we are. And this goes back into turning consciousness or knowledge into wisdom. And I would like to go back to something that was continuously covered in the past weeks and months, is how to turn consciousness into knowledge, and what does that mean? This morning, Xun Fa Xiang, Master talks about 智慧, the ability to differentiate what is right from wrong, and the ability to see everything as identical, as the same. That together, put together, is wisdom. But how do we do that? So Master used the analogy of a very, very dark room. A room that is dark, that has no light, very, very dark. Now, if you have a very, very small match, and a small fire, small flame, that all of a sudden spark, then you will be able to see the things around you. You will start to be able to see, oh, so there's a table in this room, there is a chair in this room, there is a window, there is a door, etc. You begin to see all these things. Now, if this light can be brighter, can be more, then you will begin to see, oh, so the chair is black. The table is made of wood. This is a big table. It's a small table. The door is over there, and it's a wooden door, and there's a doorknob. So the bigger, the brighter the light, the more detail that you will be able to see. But that is still only consciousness. That is still only knowledge. Because the true wisdom is, can you see beyond the surface? Can you see beyond what's inside, what's on the surface, but can you see what's inside? Can you see something that's more than what you can see? And that's what Master said. We will not be able to see the bacteria. We will not be able to see all the microorganisms. It's just the same way as we cannot see the huge universe that's all around us. We cannot see the other planets that is so far away. We cannot see what's on those planets. It takes more than just what we can have, consciousness, right now. So how do we turn the consciousness or knowledge into wisdom? Master said, someone else, a teacher, can come by and tell you, you know, in this water or in this world, there are all living forms around us. That's microorganism. Somebody to open the door, and we begin to question, is there really something more than what I can see now? Then we begin to develop the magnifying glass. Then we begin to develop the microscope or the electronic microscope, or to see something further away. Somebody told us that there are worlds and worlds and worlds further away that we cannot see right now. Do you believe them? Well, if you do, you begin to explore. You begin to develop, you put the lenses together, and it becomes a telescope. It becomes an electronic telescope. It becomes something even bigger, something even wider, something even further. You can even see away. That's turning what we can see and what we understand into something even more. And that's called transcending. That's called to go beyond. So this is something that I showed before. How do we turn consciousness into wisdom? Consciousness is something that we can see easily and hear and understand and feel. But how do we go beyond that? How do we go beyond from what we see into something that is true wisdom? We see someone who is hurt, who is injured. What can we see? What can we understand beyond that? Oh, it's because this person always takes risks, and that's why he's injured. It's because this person always play in a very wild way. So he was jumping around running around and is bound into, he's bound to run into things, falling down. That's why he's injured. So what can I do about that? Can I help them? So it's turning something that we see and we hear and we feel and we touch into something that's more, into more in depth. Why? Into how? Into more of what I can do to help. What can I do to help turning? So this goes back into the beginning, merits. For Master, it's not just about learning the Dharma. She's learning the Dharma at the same time, understanding what is happening in the world. What are the problems that's faced by everybody? What are the ways and the remedies that the Buddha had offered us? How can I marry the two? How can I join the two so that your problem is solved, is resolved by the medication? That's what turning consciousness. All these individuals, somebody only focus on the Buddhist Sutra. Somebody only focus on the world problems. But how can you turn these knowledge, the knowledge of the Sutra, the knowledge of the world affairs, and you combine the two into wisdom, applying the knowledge of the Sutra and the Buddha, and applying the knowledge of what people are experiencing today and the problems. And you combine the two and it becomes wisdom of how to overcome and surpass. So I wanted to go further into another analogy, and that's the bone marrow. So Master also used the idea of the bone marrow in detail. So before we go in, the basic idea was that most part of our body is composed of water or liquid. And most part of those liquid is actually blood. So the water that we drink get transformed somehow through different various chemical and mechanism. It goes in, becomes the blood, which carries the oxygen, carries the nutrients to all different parts of the body. So when someone's body is not functioning good, when somebody is sick or ill, drinking water allows the process, the body process, to continue in a smooth way. It helps, but it's going to take a long time. If the problem is in the blood itself, the very first thing that we can do is we can transfuse the blood. We can use somebody with the same blood type and give the blood to ourselves so that we no longer have the shortage of blood. However, if the problem is in the blood itself, then we need to have the bone marrow transplant. And this bone marrow transplant isn't just the transfusion of blood, because the blood cells dies in a week. So you can give me 500 cc of your blood, which helps me get through my problem right now. But after 1 week, those blood cells from your help is no longer in my body. Through metabolism, it's out of my body already. If I cannot make the healthy blood myself, I would need another transfusion. So the most important way is through the transfusion, is the transplant of the bone marrow, so that I can make the healthy blood. Same idea with the Dharma. It's not just enough that when you are encountering a problem, you have the problem and there's a Dharma, and the Dharma is able to give you what the Buddha says and telling you this is how the Dharma works. Fix your problem. But as I said last week when those 50 of you were here, Dharma isn't about treating a problem. Dharma is about teaching all of us how to find the answer. Bone marrow is the way to find the answer. It's not the blood itself, it's the way to make more healthy blood. So if I just give you the blood, if I just tell you, go left and then go straight and then make a right, and you're going to find what you're looking for. But that solution doesn't work all the time. You don't always go left, go straight, and then make a right, you'll find the answer. Sometimes you have to do different variations of it. Sometimes you start at a different location, so you will not have the same instruction. So the important thing is, like bone marrow, I don't give you the answer because the answers are always different, but I give you something that's even more valuable, and that's something for you to find the answer yourself, and that's bone marrow. But sometimes our body rejects that bone marrow, and that's when the Dharma that we listen, we don't apply correctly, or we use it incorrectly, so that it doesn't create the healthy blood. So even if we accept it, it doesn't help us because we're still not using it right. So even if Master is teaching us all the right things, we are not accepting it right. And therefore, we are rejecting that bone marrow, which causes us to still not be healthy. So I wanted to go into the 4 wisdom. I know time is running short, but these are the wisdom that help us to transform, to go beyond, to transcend. First of all, understand the accomplishment. The accomplishment means understand the world affair, understanding the current status, understanding the current problem. The problem of faced by the problems and challenges faced by the people today. The problem and the challenges faced by the world today. That's the wisdom of accomplishment. The wisdom of profound insight goes deep into it. Why are people having all these mental issues? Why are people constantly fighting? Why are people never satisfied? Why are they not grateful? The profound insight goes deep into, not just on the surface, but goes deep about why. So wisdom of accomplishment, first step is to understand the problems, understand the various knowledge, and understand the various problems. The wisdom of profound insight goes deep into what the problem and the origin of the problem. The wisdom of innate identity essentially talks about the Buddha nature and the Dharma. Understanding the Dharma and understanding what remedies are available to me. The wisdom of great perfect mirror marries the two. The problem, the accomplishment, the current status, the profound insight into knowing and understanding the origin and the problem, where it comes from and why. The wisdom of innate identity tells us that we have the Dharma. All the teachings, all the remedies are right here. The great perfect mirror comes to and makes the problem resolve. And so the problem, the answer comes together, that becomes what we learn in wisdom. So all of these, turning a problem, turning a knowledge of the Dharma into true wisdom. So this is the same idea as talking about the 3 bodies. You know, I'm going through all this very quickly, but later on we can spend more time, as these are the questions that were asked. But the 3 bodies is the same idea. Various transformation, the 3 bodies of Buddha, various transformations. It's like right now I'm feeling the teachings of the Buddha coursing through my veins. It's through my body. I'm feeling so compassionate. I'm feeling so hopeful. At that moment, you are the transformation of the Dharma, of the Buddha. But that moment is very short. We cannot belong as we are the ordinary beings. But if you do this enough, if you have all of these various transformations, the bodies, you carry the transformation of the Dharma, of the Buddha onto you. So you're always compassionate. You're always empathy of others. You're always benefiting others. You're always learning the Dharma. If you have all of these things coming together, then you're going to have the body of reward. You're going to have born into someone who is wise, who is understanding, who has already have great affinity with all the sentient beings. And when you keep that long enough, for many lifetimes, you're going to become the Buddha. Or you're going to find out that we all have the Buddha nature that would never, ever cease to exist. That's always there. So it's always a transcending. The first is the very small pieces of enlightenment. Then you put these small pieces together, it becomes a lifetime of reward. Very wise, understanding, having understanding of the Dharma, and having good affinity with people. The more of these you accumulate, you will finally uncover the Buddha nature that's in all of us. So once again, it always talks about stages, always talks about levels, always talks about the different ranks, because it all depends on, can we continue? Can we do it for a long time? Can we not lose anything? Can we always keep it going every moment, every second, every day? That's what transcend, go beyond is. To make it longer and longer and longer, to make it more rewarding, to make it more every day. So Dharma isn't something that we do in the morning only, but it's in between our breath. It's in between every second. It's in between every thought. That's what go beyond means. So that's what this chapter is about. Different levels, different ranks, because people have different diligence and different people have different efforts. So this chapter tells us that we need to work hard. How do we work hard? There is a part about merit, doing selflessly, benefiting others. There's a part about virtue, our heart, our insight. Can you do this continuously? Can you do this nonstop? While becoming better and better, you don't change yourself. So while you're accumulating merit, yourself never changes. You're still humble. You're still selfless. You're still continuing to go on. Not because you have accomplished so much, but rather the goal is still not achieved. So that's my sharing for today. I hope that gives you a better insight about what this chapter is about. But there's still more to be covered, and I hope I have more time next time to be able to continue this topic, to share with everybody what this is all about. So that's my sharing for today. So please take over for our sharing for different centers. Thank you.
Karan, Brother Joe, for such wonderful, great insights. Okay, today we have sharings from two centers. Maybe the first one, Sister Suisan, Cheng, you ready to take over? Sister Suisan?
Before I went to Hualien, I have sisters who told me that, sister, after you go to Hualien, you come back, you will be very different. You will feel different. Because this is, that day when we went to Hualien with the English group, that was my first trip to Hualien. And I didn't know what to expect, so I just smiled. But after I went to the trip, after I came back from the trip, actually what the sister said is true. I was really inspired and touched by what I learned at Hualien, at the abode. All the while, I told myself that I would like to study the Dharma, but I have never really put in a lot of great effort. But seeing Master doing the sharing, doing the Shin Fa Xiang, and also the volunteer sharing, and how she selflessly wanted to expound the Dharma to all of us, and also seeing that time is really running out, I have actually made a vow to really attend the Shin Fa Xiang. This morning is my second class Shin Fa Xiang in our Cheng Center. And I want to really study the Dharma, listen to the Dharma, and to be able to cultivate myself from the Dharma wisdom. During our trip to the abode, I have also learned a lot about Tzu Chi. Because when we meet friends, relatives, a lot of people, they have different concept about Tzu Chi. And because of our limited knowledge about Tzu Chi, we didn't know how to share with our friends and relatives. But during this very educational and enlightened, enriching trip to Hualien, and the sharing from all our heavyweight speakers, I am now more aware and really understand how Tzu Chi is being managed. The funds that is being received from donation really goes to those needy and to those needy people. And the masters at the abode, they really earn their keep. not a single cent of the donations goes to the master to support the masters at the abode. They really worked for their share. So I feel I am very, very blessed to be able to feel very, very blessed that I was able to participate in this English group trip to Hualien. 感恩阿弥陀佛。
Thank you, Sister Tzu Chi. So I pass on back to you.
感恩 Sisters Sahun and Sisters Suisan. Brother Joe, would you like to make some comments first before we proceed to the center here? 感恩。
Okay. Well, thank you, Sister Xiaohong. It's great. I saw you back here, and I'm glad that today is your second day. This is what I really believe. Do not feel that you do not understand. You know, it's the same thing that we all started, and other than the language barrier, and other than the time barrier, and all these different things. There are bound to be challenges and difficulties. But remember, there are only two very important things dealing with merit and virtue, right? First of all is continue to think about how to benefit others. Okay, so thinking about benefiting others. How do I help others? Sometimes you do it through material. Sometimes you need Dharma. And because you need to help them, you will now seek into the teachings that Master had given you. And you might actually begin to understand, not for your own benefit to try to understand the Dharma, but only because you want to help others. So sometimes when we come to the morning Xun Fa Xiang, if you come with a very, very simple mind of nothingness, like I'm here to listen, then it's sometimes hard for you to understand. Sometimes it's easy when you come afflicted, when you come with all the problems in the world, like, oh, the problem with my children, the problem that my friends are facing, the problems that, you know, my Dharma brothers and sisters are facing right now. I have a big project. I'm not sure. I think we're stuck. You come with a lot of problems. And on that day, the Dharma is just like water. It flows in. It takes no shape, takes no form. So the Master talks about the Dharma has no form or shape. And because you have a container that you're waiting to be filled, the water will flow right in. If you come here to just listen, yeah, I'll see what she says. I'm not so sure what I would get. Then you come with no container. So sometimes don't feel bad that we're not understanding. It takes time and it takes perseverance. So at first, always thinking about benefiting others. How can I help the world? How can I help other people? And the answers is always there, and it will help you understand. And the next thing is don't stop. Don't stop, and you need to persevere. Continue to going on and allowing yourself to learn more and more. Even if you keep on doing this, after one month, you come back to what you hear today, you will have a totally different understanding of what you feel right now. And that's growth. That's wisdom. That's accumulation of wisdom and accumulation of merit and accumulation of virtue. So continue to think about benefiting others. And at the same time, you will be searching for solution. And Dharma right in front of you will become your remedy. And at the same time, don't stop. You're going to hit some snags. You're going to hit some problems like, oh, I don't understand today. Or, oh, today is something that I don't want to get up from my bed. Well, that's going to be something that you overcome. So continue to selflessly, continue to help others, and continue to not stop. And those are the key points. So thank you, Sister Xiaohong, and hopefully understanding how the abode works will allow you to continue. These are the answers, and these are the solutions, and these are the driving energy that will keep on keeping you going, so that you will not you will not falter, and you will not stop on this path. So thank you, and now we're going to go to the next center for sharing. Thank you.
Oh, 感恩 Brother Joe. Oh yeah, okay. Now we have sharing from Sister Michelle, Sister Kapo, and Sister Wan Chi. Okay, come. Sister.
Amitabha, Changzu Sifu, brothers and sisters. Now, so mine is really a brief sharing. What I wanted to share is also pertaining to the trip. To be quite honest, the timing of the trip wasn't the most ideal time for me. It was a very hectic, busy time for me at work, and also personally, physically, I'm not feeling that well during those period. But well, since it has to happen, it has to happen. So I went in, but of course, I actually went in with already a very fatigued mindset. But once I'm there, we all know that we all have our roles and responsibility to play. So I put that aside. But still, you know, I kept wondering. How do I benefit the most from the trip? But to my surprise, just when I was the most fatigued, and you know, and then I went on this trip, and I think all of us who were on that trip, we knew very well that it's far from relaxing. But just simply because of the hecticness, it removed my exhaustion, my fatigueness altogether. And I really come back very recharged. And it also relates to an earlier state of mind that I gone through. I asked a few of my close brothers and sisters that yes, I know that to feel Dharma bliss in whatever that we do, so long as wholesome, is very important. But what happens when that joyful bliss disappear, and it takes a lot of effort to find it, or even I even wonder, why do I have to make effort to find it if it's a wholesome, things like that. I ask questions like that, but again, through this trip, not only I found that it took care of my fatigueness, it also brings back those feelings of joyful bliss, just back naturally. So I wanted to express my gratitude to all the Changzu Sifu, Master, and all the brothers and sisters who have made this trip for us.
Ever Masters and brothers and sisters, well, I would like to share something about this trip compared to the trip that I went about 10 years ago. And 10 years ago when I went, I was more of a participant. And to me, everything is new. And I'm ready to learn a lot of things. For this particular trip, I'm part of the organizing committee. Yeah, I would say that. And I thought my role was just to guide everybody, make sure the newer volunteers know what to expect, and also where to go and so on. Surprisingly, it is not. The thing that benefited most, I think, was myself. And I see two areas. One of the areas is what Master has been talking about, how bodhisattvas appear. And during this journey along from Nehu to Hualien, and within Hualien itself, I find a lot of our volunteers, especially the younger ones, they are actually showing to us the pure nature, the willingness to help others. And this is what keeps the team in a team spirit. Caring for each other, making sure the other volunteers are able to just assist one another. So that I feel is already what we want to see: a team spirit, teamwork, and that we cannot work alone. The results are different. This is what also Brother Stephen Huang's message there. Do you want to hold? If I drop the cup, do you use one hand, both hands, one finger? Can you hold it, or two fingers? So again, it emphasizes that in Tzu Chi, when we as volunteers, when we do things together, the effort will be distributed, and we can do it better. And one of the most last minute, there were also people, they were asking us to pack the rice. I think if you can remember, and they say, what are we going to do? How we are going to call? And it wasn't difficult, Or I just need to say, who wants to pack rice? And, there'll be everybody running to grab that opportunity. But as I was there, I was not doing the, putting the dishes, the vegetables on the rice, because I thought I'll give it to the younger volunteer to experience it. And that's what I thought. But I think I benefited the most, because when they were doing the work, the airport master, she was explaining and telling us along the way, if something happens, what are we going to do? Are we going to continue, or are we going to stop and rectify the problem and continue? So from where I was standing, I could see that the volunteers are joyfully passing from one, it's like a production line, you know? Okay, I'm going to put on this vegetable, and the next person is going to put in the next vegetables, and so on. But from what I see is that I keep telling one of the volunteers, no, you are putting too much vegetables, and you are, you know, you are too slow, so on. This is the process. You're too slow, you're putting too much, and so on. And what Cheng Sifu just said was, review and find out what was the problem, and tell that person to communicate to the person and say, hey, you should put it this way so that you will not. But what we always do in the everyday life, the challenges that we face, we usually for that moment we get angry with that person, and it's keep it in the heart, and we don't communicate, and we just let it go. So from this process of just packing the rice itself, the Dharma is already there. And when we can see it, it is so easy. This is what I learned. And I think there are many other sharings that I'd like to share too, but I'll leave it for next week for the group sharing. Thank you.
Cảm ơn Michelle for such wonderful sharing. Okay, back to Brother Joe.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both. Thank you all, actually. First of all, I would like to shout out my gratitude to Sister Wan Jing and Sister Mei Mei. These are the two that continue the translation effort. And of course, Brother Yoping also, to help with the translation of the morning Dharma talk, and also the volunteer assembly. And I'm sure there are others that helped out with the typing and also the translation effort. Because as we all know, that language itself is a barrier. And in order for us to understand Master, we definitely need some help with translation. And for those of you that have worked on translation before, you would know that unfortunately, sometimes our brain is just so used so much during the interpretation, the oral interpretation, that we can't maintain or we can't keep all the things. It's almost coming in and going out, and nothing keeps the middle. Well, at least it's for me. Maybe Sister Wan Jing and maybe are very, very, very wise, and they're able to keep all of it. But for me, it was very difficult, and it's very tiring. And so in order for most of us to be able to fully understand, I mean, I walked by several times while on that day, and there were so many lectures and so many wonderful talks, and I could imagine, people are excited, the instructors are excited, and they talk very fast, and they just have to fire off all these translation, interpretation right away, one after the other. And my gratitude goes out to them. Without them, it would just be like Master is speaking the truth, and there's no loudspeaker, so people in the back cannot hear what she's saying. You can only look, you can only feel, but you don't know what she's saying. And that's just a very unfortunate thing. But so happy that we have Wan Jing and Mei Mei and all the other team to help with the translation in order for everybody to get more immersed about all of this. So for that, I'm very, very grateful. And I'm happy to hear that she feels that organizing this is actually benefiting to her the most. And I hope that through this translation effort and through this act of selflessly helping and supporting this team is something that truly benefits you and benefit all of us. And I think that's ultimately very important. So thank you, Sister Wan Jing, for all of your effort and dedication in helping and supporting. And even if you're physical tiredness, or you're drained from your work, you know what? None of us can see that in you. You still look to be very shining, shining with hope and shining with this caring and willingness to help others. So, you know, we see none of that tiredness. Maybe after you return to Malaysia, you return to the tiredness form. But no, I don't see that when you were here in Taiwan, in Hualien. So thank you so much. And I truly agree with you that through all of these selfless acts, that we ourselves benefit ourselves the most. And just like what I shared today, don't let that change you. Don't let that change us. But rather, let that be the energy that would drive you, that would continue to drive you and give you the sustained energy that we can move on and continue to help more people, to continue and improve ourselves so that we can help more people. So thank you, Sister Wan Qing, for that wonderful sharing. And as to Sister Michelle, once again, you know, you're very, very spot on with your observation. You know, through the different troops, whether it was in Nehu all the way to Taipei to Hualien, and all the different lectures, you know, being the guardian, you know, being the chaperone of all the people, and being someone who is always having to look around. I think sometimes that's the benefit of being the assistant, the benefit of being somebody who is a helper, is that yes, it's important to feel and to understand the work itself. But at the same time, you need to manage and you need to maintain all the different flowing, whether it's quality control or whether it's the process control. And you will understand that sometimes that's what Buddhism is talking about. It's important. So the Master talks about the 6 parameters, and the most important thing, the most important thing is the wisdom. And the idea of the wisdom is just this, that you need to go in and work. You need to understand the work itself. So you can't just sit there and look at all the people work and you just point and say, you need to be faster, you need to do this quicker, and you need to do with better quality. If you don't do the work yourself, you don't really know what you're talking about. But at the same time, while you do so much work, you need to have the samadhi, or you need to have that tranquility or the peace of mind to get yourself out of the process, to go higher, to go beyond what all these chores is doing, but to see overall, where are we missing? We're working all so hard, but why aren't we getting the results? We're all working so hard, but something isn't right. We are not happy. What can we do? So someone has to always go beyond the things that we're working on ourselves right now, and to give us the right remedy, to give us the right medication, to help us get through the problem, to help us become better. That's what Master does. She did the original case visits on her own. So she knows what all these work is about. She's empathetic toward the sick and the ill and all of these, the poor, the least privileged. She's empathetic and she's compassionate. But she's gone through the work herself in the field, so she knows the work. But now she pulls herself away, using a much bigger view to see the entire world, so that she is not trapped in doing the things and focus only on the product, focus only on the efficiency, focus only on, am I doing this right, or am I doing this fast enough? She's doing this, guiding us so that we can work well with each other, so that we can work while being happy, so that we can work while understanding the reason why, so that we can work and feel the joy and the Dharma, so that we can eventually be like her to help others, so that they can work and feel the joy as well as how you feel right now. That's Buddhism. That's Dharma. So thank you both for the wonderful sharing. That is so important. It's so important in both walking the walk and talking the talk, so that you can walk the walk and understand the talk. And mixing the two, that's when you have merit and virtue combining. That's when you have the world knowledge and the Dharma Buddha, the Buddha Dharma mixing together. And that's when you can turn consciousness into wisdom. Thanks to all the people sharing today. And that's it for today's session. And I hope we'll see all of you again next week for another review of the Lotus Sutra, and continue to help each other on this journey of enlightenment and awakening. Thank you all, and goodbye.
Okay, cảm ơn Brother Joe, Sister Sao Hun, Sister Wan Chin, Sister Michelle for sharing lots of life wisdom. Thank you, Pusa, for your presence today. Hope that each of us could sustain the Dharma joy and take in another piece of Masters and Hualien love to our life. Let us please make 3 bows to the Buddha and Master Cheng Yen as we depart to apply these teachings in our daily lives. Let us pay our respects to our teachers of life, universal truth. Everyone, palms together. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. And a bow to our beloved Sifu who could join us today. Garden, everyone. See you all next Saturday. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.